Welcome to the another episode of the podcast called Behind the Success. In today's episode, we are going to understand about sustainable journey of Vasuki, and I believe, digging deeper into his personality, we'll be able to understand why he's doing what he's doing, and I guess that's the overall crux of the podcast itself. So I would like to welcome you, Vasuki, for agreeing to be on the podcast, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you for inviting me. I went through some of the programs, and uh, you are doing a good job, and I'm very happy to be part of this.
Thank you. Let's start from the early days, I would say. And my first question to you would be just to understand about your early childhood days, and who are the people who are around you, and what do you recall? I mean, when I say that early childhood days, what is the first memory or couple of people comes to your mind?
I'm from a village which is about 70 kilometers from Bangalore, where I'm currently living. And the life at village was very nice. I think we used to go around. There used to be a river that would actually come to life only in the monsoon season. There used to be a garden at home, and digging soil and also doing a little bit of gardening was always part of the daily life. And whenever actually I am angry with my parents, actually I would actually go to the garden and dig some soil and then remove some weeds. It would actually help, because something I had to do. I think we used to live in a community where there used to be a lot of teachers, and I think there are few teachers who had a lot of influence on my life also.
All right. So, there's one thing which I definitely recall from my experiences as well. So let's say I was born and initially lived in the fort called Chittorgarh, which is in Rajasthan, and we used to had a lot of small ponds around, and I could see that every now and then people used to come together and they used to uh, clean those ponds regularly, because they knew that, I mean, the source of their water is coming from there, and it is their responsibility to take care of it. So one thing I would like to know, I mean, I'm sure whatever we do today, right, and the kind of people we have become is the combination of choices we made in the past, or the people who created an influence on us. So I mean, is there any particular individual who created that influence on you in order to have a, I mean, in order to build a lifestyle around sustainability, or now considering the career path as well?
I think it was more of the pristine nature, and the surrounding, or even actually going to the river bank and then plucking some jamun. Those are actually some of the things that I remember, and also visiting agricultural fields, and at least the clean air, and the whole concept around that one. How we used to actually live in a community together. I think that had a lot of influence on me.
Thank you. So now since you talked about that you were born just in outskirts of Bangalore, and the reason why I'm using outskirts is because, I mean, 70 kilometers earlier, maybe now a little closer, the way city has been expanding. So one thing I'm very keen to know, because I keep coming to Bangalore because I believe there's a huge startup ecosystem, and the kind of work in sustainability also happening around. It really inspires you to look up to people, and just to see that how you can actually co-create with them. So I would like to know that, uh, what is your earlier memory of Bangalore, and how do you see that Bangalore as a city changed because of commercialization, because of a lot of people coming in, And so, I mean, what kind of difference you visualize about the city?
I think the memory is actually getting onto a government bus, the KSRTC bus. That's the and then maybe around 5 a.m. in the morning and reaching Bangalore by around 8:30 or 9 o'clock, going to one of the relatives' house. I would actually remember the, I think it's the smell of LPG because that was not there in the village. I don't know, some reason actually that kind of was in my memory. Also, we would be lost. I mean, actually, even in those days, going from one place to another place because they all look very similar. Kind of a, this are I think I'm not familiar, um, but it was actually lush green because Bangalore is always known for a lot of trees on either side of the road. And those days, actually, there used to be many. And we used to have also this circle where you have to go around. It was not many traffic signal at that time. I'm talking about early, late 80s. That's the memory that I have. And it is actually, as you rightly said, the ambience was something helpful. The ecosystem was helpful for co-creating and even for students to kind of uh, look up to moving to the city, and it was welcoming, and it's also cozy. The weather in Bangalore has always been actually that cozy and cloudy and very nice and lot of drizzle, and that's the memory I have.
Thank you. And in fact, when I was talking about Chittorgarh and my personal experience with the community coming together, uh, I was just thinking that if you go to the earlier days, there used to be kings and rulers who used to kind of sponsor building up community spaces, building up a lot of things, and they used to ask people who are around, like who are the residents there, to maintain them, and that was the kind of model between the investment and the operations was there. My connecting this, what I would like to know is that there is one thing which we somehow pick up throughout our lives and we just enjoy it. I mean, it could be a hobby, it could be a particular thing. So I would like to know that, is there anything particular in terms of sustainability or DIY which you have been doing for a long time and you feel that that was, I mean, one of the factor which actually kind of intrigued you to like get into other aspects of sustainability?
I think the because I was not, I was from a family which is kind of had to meet the, let's put it this way. I think it is actually end of the day, if we have 3 meals, that itself was actually a big thing. And that actually makes you, always humble and at a point, and then also uh, the garden used to actually give us some of the vegetables and fruits, and whether it is actually papaya grown or the guava or even many other vegetables, we would always actually be eager to harvest or pluck and then eat, and that's the joy. I think afterwards, when I even moved to United States for about 9 years or so, and where we could afford, lot more fruits, I think the taste of uh, the papaya that was there is actually always something etched in my memory, and I cherish the taste of it.
I think you kind of summarize it beautifully, because I would say, I mean, so I was watching something yesterday on Prime, and I realized that there's a particular dialogue where uh, someone, so Ranveer Brar is the cast opposite to Pratik Gandhi, and he talks about that he asked that how do you like this dish? And he says that this is one of the best. He says that the best dish is my grandmother used to cook.
Yeah.
So I think there's kind of a psychological memory, or kind of care, or kind of certain something more added up is there along with just the taste of whatever we eat. So I think it's really beautiful to hear, because I could connect, because I love cooking lately, and I honestly do not like to cook for myself. I only cook when I invite people over to eat. So I could feel the kind of joy you get, because you visualize the entire process, that you're going to cook, how they're going to feel once they eat it, and how you are going to feel once you see them feeling that joy. So I think that is somehow is there. I mean, and I think that also reduces the effort, because when you're growing, let's say, your own fruits and all of that, you're not thinking about the hard work going in. You're more thinking about the end result and how you're going to feel at the end of it, right?
And
So
be eager to share it with your neighbors. That's the beauty of gardening.
true. And in fact, I guess they also wait for every season, like, oh, mango's gonna come, papaya gonna come, and all of that.
Right.
So thank you for that. With this, another thought. I mean, this little, I would say, it's more of an open-ended question. I would like to know that there are a lot of days being celebrated, right? So we talk about, let's say, Environmental Day, Earth Day, Water Day, right? And I see some people saying that these ideas are good because it creates at least some kind of turmoil in the water. Some people believe that, I mean, this is just the trendy stuff for people to do for a day. So what is your take? I mean, how do you see these days, and what would be your suggestion that what could change with these days in coming times?
I mean, before, I think when I lived in the US, even it included the Mother's Day and Father's Day, those things also. And unless we designate a day, we actually, it gives us an opportunity to celebrate. And celebration is the basic, key thing in that. And if we don't actually designate a day, then we may actually even forget to celebrate. So our religious festivals, the way it is actually designated, similarly, I think Environment Day or even Mother's Day, all these things, I think I really like the idea. And also, yeah, I mean, we don't kind of, try to celebrate too much, but at least in a subtle way that we can actually remember and also make sure that, we kind of care for people and the environment. So I'm all for it.
Thank you. So I guess, yeah, definitely. I mean, awareness is the start of anything else, because I recall I got into waste management back in 2016 when I visited Bangalore in SWMRT. And in fact, I recently saw, I think, Vani's post as well, that you've been there. And I also been to her house back in 2016. I was so inspired that so much was happening. And since then, I see a lot of things happening around. And I think it definitely is a good idea that once you somehow start sensitizing yourself, and that is where the trigger comes, that you think, oh, I'm now aware. How do I move from awareness to call to action, and then further so on? So definitely, I thank you for sharing that. Now slightly moving to the another segment that so my research says that you have been with corporate for 22 years, and now moving to social entrepreneurship. How do you see that shift happening, and is there any particular incident which inspired you to move from the corporate sector to your own venture, or is there certain people who kind of inspired you to do that? So would just like to know a little about it.
It's actually the 40 syndrome. I think that's made me actually let me try to do something else. What else to do in kind of life. And I was very passionate about programming, software programming, initial days. And then later on in corporate structure, it so happens that we kind of move up the ladder, and sometimes the ladder actually reaches the point where, it's more into people management. And it's not as exciting as actually the programming days, because I think I'm a techie my heart. So it so happened that I was actually in that situation, and then I started actually doing a few freelance work on software development again. And then one fine day, a friend of mine called me and said, let's do something in this segment, the environment. Obviously, we never had thought through the head and tail of actually sustainable living or even waste management for that matter. He's the reason. I think I meet him and then I keep telling him, actually, we still both are in the segment. And then I tell him that, it's because of you, you triggered this kind of a thing. I'm a field guy. I love, being in the place where we are actually working, where we are actually deploying a solution. Um, Going forward, I think I kind of started positioning myself more and more as a solution provider because I love problem solving and process improvement. I think that's from the corporate language. It's what we do, right? And I kind of could see the correlation between what I was doing as a project manager or as a programmer to what I was actually deploying in solid waste management segment also. But it took about 2.5 years to learn what we call it as the simple science, but it's a whole lot of art of composting. I think because what I entered into is community composting first, rather than actually trying to do home composting, because our business model that we started working on was to not position ourselves as an NGO, and it in order to sustain, it has to be a social enterprise. So there was a mentor, Mr. T. Jayaraman. He's still there. He's from Chennai. He is the one who told us that let's do a social enterprise. It is a low profit margin, company, but it's important that we sustain this on our own rather than waiting for some grants. I think that holds good for the whole journey. My company has never been an NGO. It is actually a for-profit organization. But volunteering and also trying to sustain the business goes hand in hand. So that's where actually I am in to trust. There is actually a solid waste management roundtable that you mentioned. SWMRT is where I am playing an active role as a member, as well as there is a waste impact is a trust. But I'm also running this social enterprise called Soil and Health Solution. We are very passionate about the work that we do. I think it comes out in whatever that we try to post on social media or the work that we do. We are very passionate, and I'm glad that I could find that passion again. The way I was a programmer initially, and I was very interested in that. Now I am actually deploying these solutions. And here we are actually not trying to get to a point where, okay, we build an organization, let me start running an organization. Then I will lose that passion again. I am actually, so it's not a scalable model, what the work that I am doing, but it gives me a lot of happiness and able to be there actually, and then be a solution provider.
Thank you. I guess you majorly talked about the sense of fulfillment and sense of achievement, which is there. Just for the listeners and viewers, I just wanted to share that Social Enterprise is an organization where your objective is to make profits, but your objective is also to work for people, and that's the blend which is there, that you are like not an NGO, but then you work for the society from the perspective of gaining a profit so that you can invest back to people and community. So now, so since you talked about soil and health solutions, I would like to know, so this fictional, let's say a question, just imagine that you're in 90s and you're like sitting on a chair, having a coffee. And now if you have to reflect back, what are, let's say, those two things would be which you feel is something your organization did for the community, and you feel proud of being the founding member of it?
You're referring to,
I'm referring to Soil and
SWMRT.
Health Solution.
Soil and Health Solution is only about a 7-year-old
Right.
organization, and you're talking about soil and health in the last 7 years. What work we have done?
No, I'm asking. So let's imagine that you're in your 90s and you're sitting on a chair having a coffee. Now you reflect back the work you have done for years. What are one or two things comes to your mind that you feel really proud of that as an organization you were able to do?
I think it's the creating awareness. Initially, I never thought that, why we really need to educate, why people are not following. I think we kind of dwell too much on the problem in the initial days. And there was a realization. It also comes from about 3 or 4 gurus that I have in this segment, in the solid waste management segment, and the way in which actually they continue to create awareness. I think the spirit with which initially I started my career in solid waste management, loading my Innova with items and totally packed in the Innova. Even now, after 6 or 7 years, I still travel the same way. So it has not come down. That is the reason why we can actually continue to, keep up with the work, going to so many different traveling, driving to so many places, and then. So the awareness is one of the very important thing. The second thing is there's Dr. Joshi Cherian. I think he's a microbiologist. He's an organic farmer. He's been my guru, one of the guru, and I learned patience. I think in my corporate life and also in the initial days of composting and solid waste management segment, when someone actually points finger at me, I would actually really react. But here comes this man, and Vasuki don't actually. They just throw questions at you. They want to actually provoke you. You don't need to really respond to those things, and also know where to escalate. Whom to approach, rather than actually trying to talk to the low hanging the set of people. So patience is something I learned from him, and also how to stay calm, and then try to explain and this thing. So I was actually a good listener from the beginning. I've been that, but this having patience particularly is actually something I was not really ready, but it's helping a lot. Sorry, I don't know whether I answered you.
No, you did. You did. I mean, you definitely did in a way. And I would say, so, I mean, I would say that usually this is one of the start, and then that is how, I mean, this creates a bigger dent on the things we are doing. And I can relate to you because I've been in social entrepreneur for more than 6 years now. And when I look back, I think I am also very calm personality. Like, people have not seen me angry. That doesn't mean I don't get angry. I mean, it's just like, whenever I'm angry, I go around nature, I just sit with myself and I reflect the entire scenario, that what different I could have done in order to change their reactions or responses. And I guess that allows you that you start seeing things from the different lens. And that also helps back, because when you're building solutions for your own organization, then you think about risk management, how to avoid particular scenarios and things like that. I think it's wonderful because a lot of us are being consumed these days with technology, and we're losing patience. And I guess the important aspect of being calm is that you're able to be with yourself. In fact, I followed this organization called Mindvalley. It's based out in now Estonia and Kuala Lumpur, and they do like a lot of different wonderful sessions about unlocking human potential, be it breath work, be it meditation. And I was reading someone's post and said that my first favorite meditation is running, while the second meditation is just sitting idle and not listening to anything. So we are trying to distract ourselves with the guided meditation, listening songs and doing meditations, listening certain sounds and doing meditation. The hardest part comes is that you just sit and you do not think anything, and that's the hardest part of the meditation. So I think that really develops your patience, and I guess it's an important skill to have these days. uh, Thank you. Now my last question to you is that since you're also known as the DIY guy, so my question to you is that any one or two tips you have for people who are going to watch the video or listen to the podcast, that what they can actually do to start maybe a small or big, but at least that helps them start their sustainable lifestyle and journey.
Sure. It's actually Vani Murthy who called me DIY guy. And then later on, I think I kind of added it in the Instagram, and that became kind of a buzzword. So she's one of the major source of inspiration, for many, and including me. So I think it's important that we should not overwhelm ourselves trying to get into the mode of the sustainable living or even minimalistic lifestyle. Actually, that those are kind of have become the buzzword. One step at a time. I think that's the video that I started actually doing. It's important to do a waste audit, or look at all the garbage that we generate in a month time. And then I took that whole pile and then actually spread it on my landing area. And then I actually started looking at, what are the things that I can actually start reducing. It gives an option. There is also a visit to landfill, over a period of time. I think every municipality, every city that we go to, we tell them that, we need to visit the landfill. And I would capture pictures, and it gives you a lot of ideas. Also, a kabadiwala or a dry waste collection center where people are sitting down on the floor and segregating. These can actually help. I do take some teams actually to come with me to those places, and then it can actually change a person who is actually throwing this some amount of chutney that is left in the food container and putting it in. Take them to the dry waste collection center or a kabadiwala. They will actually, I'm sure they will change. Now, one step at a time is the way to go. And there are actually about 6 or 7 items that we can actually easily shift. And beyond that, I do not, force anything on others. Actually, I started the power of passive influence. We actually carry our own cutlery. I go to a wedding, I will actually arrange things. I don't actually speak about it at all. And they will actually either come and speak to me or borrow, another set of cutlery that I may have. But I have seen passive influence. It's amazing. We just need to put our head down, lead by example, and passive influence. You will be surprised. You will be, surprised to hear feedback from your neighbors, friends, and relatives come to you and tell you, I have seen you do this, and now I am also following that. It gives immense happiness.
True. I think I completely agree word by word what you said. Because so there are two things which came to my mind also. So one is I also carry my own cutlery, like stainless steel straw, and then a spoon and the fork. And in fact, when I went to Thailand recently for 20 days, also I carried it. So one thing which I've noticed is that whenever, let's say, I go to a cafe or a restaurant, and whenever I take it out, I somehow create influence of 3 set of people. One who are going to serve me, they start conditioning, oh, there's something new also apart from plastic straw, which are now banned anyways. And then like paper straws usually get very soggy and all of that. Second aspect is that people who are there on the table with you, they somehow will not say anything, but they will register this behavior in their mind. And thirdly, whosoever is sitting in the cafe or restaurant, if by chance they're going to have a look at your table and look at you, they will also kind of seek that inspiration that, yeah, I think something I need to do. Because especially with Generation Z, what I've noticed is that it's a rebel generation. That if you tell them that do this, they will not do. So the easiest part is that you implant the idea in their head, and eventually they feel that that is their idea. They need to work upon it, and they eventually do it. So I think I completely agree. And this is where so whenever I go for a lot of sessions, I also talk about that having awareness is an idea, but moving that awareness into call to action is altogether different thing. So me knowing that I should not litter, but when I'm holding that plastic cup or paper cup and I'm thinking that I should throw this into a dustbin, is a different game than just having the awareness. So I guess this is a wonderful conversation, and I would like to recommend people, please go, and if you're curious, I mean, to know about what kind of DIYs you can do, you can go and check out his Instagram. We'll also post in the comment section to make it easier for you. Thank you for this segment one. Now I would like to take you to segment two called Spotlight. And the idea behind this segment is that there are lot of personal aspects we have. I mean, it could be like, maybe let's say I love reading, I love consuming content, and that somehow feeds back to my inspiration and knowledge. So my recommendation to everyone for today, if you love autobiographies, it's a book called Alex Ferguson. You can also see in my background the lowest book. Alex Ferguson is a known individual when it comes to football era, and also in the coaching industry. So I would say a lot of time we would like to become managers, but then what is important is that we become coaches to people. And the moment you whosoever you're working with, the moment you start inculcating their growth into the idea of your own organization, they will go extra mile in order to do things for you. And that is the overall fundamental belief I have. So if you would like to understand the journey of Alex Ferguson with Manchester United, I would highly recommend that you go forward and have a read of this book. And that's my recommendation for today. Vasuki, what's your recommendation?
Actually, I read books, I mean, both the English as well as the local language, the Kannada. And the books that influenced me is the one related to the life. There is a popular author called Shivram Karant. So I think in terms of English novel, I'm not able to immediately get any name. But this novel is actually going back to soil. That's the loose translation of the title of the book. And it talks about some of the sustainable practices that was there in the what is called actually the agriculture. It was actually agriculture before Green Revolution. Now it is called organic farming, natural farming, lot of different names. But that book is something had a lot of influence, and also the life of the family who actually would pluck something that is already grown, that is already there in the garden, and that will drive what you are going to prepare for the day. And I think I kind of refer to that book in most of my speech, actually. And the food coming from the garden and some of the sustainable practices is amazing. And we need to actually consult, check our parents and grandparents, and then figure out how to live sustainably.
Thank you very much. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And I would again like to extend my gratitude that you said yes and joined the episode. Thank you once again. And to viewers, we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you, Gaurav.